the second youngest driver to win a Formula One Grand Prix, Kimi Antonelli wins at just 19 years of age.
Yes, Kimi, come on, my son. Yes! we did it, man.
It reminded me how nice it is to have a first-time Grand Prix winner as well, to see what it means of people achieving a dream.
Do you think Kimi can challenge for the championship now?
I had my doubts before the weekend, but I'm a lot more confident that he'll take the fight to him.
This is Lewis saying, no, Charles, I am your equal.
He's getting his elbows out, and it feels like the Lewis of old.
To be there up on the podium, Lewis to my left, Kimi to my right, it's a real special moment.
Ollie Behrman leading the way for Haas in P5, for me, was one of the drives of the day.
I think he's a driver cementing himself as a star of the future, absolutely.
Welcome everyone to Shanghai for F1 Nation's review of the Chinese Grand Prix. A new winner, a champion back on the podium, and action everywhere you looked. I'm Tom Clarkson, and with me is F1 TV commentator and former F1 driver Jolyon Palmer. Now, JP, I loved that race. What was your take?
It was breathless, wasn't it? There was so much that went into it. The battles were actually brilliant. I think the Ferraris gave us a lot, didn't they, from it? But there was loads through the midfield as well. It was a real thriller.
Now, let's start with the winner, Kimi Antonelli. Win number one, and it was pretty emphatic actually, wasn't it?
It was really good. Obviously set up yesterday with qualifying, taking the pole, and then the most crucial part was keeping George behind him at the start. So it didn't matter that the Ferraris came through, or one Ferrari came through, because his big threat was going to be George, and he dealt with him fairly well off the line, and then just did everything he had to do. Controlled the safety car restart. Obviously it was very difficult on a hard tyre. George struggled a lot more getting that tyre fired up. Kimi was there out front, had the pace when he needed it, and yeah, I mean, what an emphatic drive. Kept the tyres alive for the whole thing, and barring a lock-up that had everyone a little bit on the edge of their seats with a few laps to go, it was faultless.
He was very emotional too, wasn't he? And I kind of loved that about him.
It reminded me how nice it is to have a first-time Grand Prix winner as well, to see what it means of people basically achieving a dream, like he said. You know what I really liked was how he gave us a massive burnout coming out of the hairpin. The race was still going on. If that was me, I'd have been thinking just short shift, just keep everything alive, don't try and do anything. But yeah, the confidence, I guess the emotion of the thing, just booting it out of the final hairpin, lighting up the rear tyres. A good celebration for a well-deserved and well-felt victory.
Well, let's catch up with his race engineer. Pete Bonnington, you have won many races in Formula One. How special was this one?
Genuinely, at first it was just a relief, and I just thought, good, it feels like we're on the right path. But now just sort of seeing the reaction and seeing what it means to him, what it means to everyone, it's super special. It's his first one, and to be there up on the podium, Lewis to my left, Kimi to my right, and it's a real special moment. The race itself was, I think, relatively straightforward. The start wasn't brilliant, but the rest of it kind of went to plan, and yeah, I think had it under control. There was no real sort of dice that we had. Remember Bahrain 2014, that was a real ding-dong. This one was just, okay, this executed. Ferrari tore strips off each other, which really helped us out. But yeah, getting back to him, seeing how much it meant to him, and seeing how much it meant to his dad and the fans, yeah, it was really good.
You've worked with great drivers, Lewis Hamilton, and you have so much experience in Formula One. Tell us a little bit about Kimi now. You've been with him for 14 months, 15 months. How has he evolved in that time?
He has grown as a human being, just because being so young. I mean, we're all on that really steep curve, you know, when you're learning by your mistakes. But with him, it's been a process. I mean, there was greatness initially, and we had that real slump in Europe last year, and that was a real hill to get over. It was a real speed bump, but in a way, it was a good learning experience to sort of say, actually, you know, this isn't easy. These are the best drivers in the world. You need to work hard at this, otherwise yeah, it's just going to pass you by. You're going to miss the boat. And from that, he takes everything on board. That's the great thing, is that he just listens and adapts and moves forward.
All the greats are very bright, aren't they? When you look at the grid now, look at Lewis, look at Fernando, look at Max. Is Kimi really intelligent?
Yes. I think he's got that capacity, that mental capacity. It's one of those things that you can tell when a driver is absolutely operating at max CPU. You know, the clock speed is absolutely at max, and the computer is working as hard as it can, and it's doing the sums as quick as it can, and unfortunately it's going to drop the ball at some point. And as they get a little bit more experience, that sort of bandwidth opens up, and the driving becomes a smaller part of what you actually need to do, because you need to think about the race in its entirety, not just drive as fast as I can. It's, no, I need to manage the race. What happens now is going to affect me 6 laps later, 10 laps later, all the way at the race finish. So yeah, it's having that ability to focus forward.
And what do you think this win will do for Kimi?
What I am hoping it does is that it will just give him the confidence in that the process is working, and what we're doing is the right thing, and we just need to stay on this path, not get carried away, and just keep cracking on with the things that we're good at and working hard.
He's flying home tonight. He's going to party tomorrow. Same with you?
I'm going to fly home tonight, and I'll probably go down to the pub and I'll have a couple of beers.
Many congratulations.
Thank you very much, mate.
I find it really fascinating to hear Bono talk about the journey with Kimi, because he's been on one already, hasn't he, with Lewis for all those years. And Kimi's only been in Formula One for just over a year, but it feels like he's had all the ups and downs of that time already. He came in so young, and they've built up a really good rapport, obviously. And he's still rebuilding, you know, he's still getting that confidence together that he can take the fight and fight for the championship with Russell this year. So they're a team, they're a unit, and I think Bono as well knows how to build the team, doesn't he?
Look, interesting point you make. Do you think Kimi can challenge for the championship now? Do you think this will propel him, if there was a step to make to join George, do you think this will be it now?
I had my doubts before the weekend, but I'm a lot more confident that he'll take the fight to him. I think just the attitude of simply shutting the door on George on the way to turn one, and you just feel like, because he's so young and so inexperienced, was he going to be sort of playing second fiddle and almost be happy to be second fiddle? Because it's what I said actually after Melbourne. He was kind of happy to be second. It was a nice result. Well done. The team's 1-2. We're all happy days. But to have the confidence to say, all right, okay, I'm on pole. Obviously, there was an element of we didn't see what George could do in an absolute, all bells and whistles Q3 for him. But it didn't matter. Kimi's on the pole, and he's going to go and cut his teammate off into turn one. I just like that he had that in his locker to go aggressive at the start rather than just play it safe for the team and be 1-2 in any order.
I was surprised that George didn't close the gap to him more once he was through the Ferraris.
Me too. Because you have that feeling that George has been a little bit more comfortable still in this generation of car. But I think probably there's a level of maybe George did hurt his tyres a little bit more coming in the traffic with the Ferraris. That fight felt like it was endless at the time, and they were swapping places, and that's going to hurt George's tyres. But also, let's not play down Kimi's pace, because when the gap started to come down, Kimi could respond and pump in fastest laps as well. So I think what we saw anyway, the gap closing between Kimi and George, even before George had the issues in qualifying, I think it was only half a tenth that he was quicker in Q1. So he's learning, he's getting closer, and yeah, if George is fighting, if he is not able to have a clean race, then we are seeing that Kimi is capable of beating him.
This episode is sponsored by Quince, a brand that makes everyday essentials that feel effortless to wear, even as the seasons change. The thing I like about a really good wardrobe is when it's simple. Just a few pieces you can rely on, things that look good, feel comfortable, and work in all sorts of situations. And Quince really delivers on that and more. Think lightweight cashmere sweaters and short-sleeved Mongolian cashmere polos, or tees in 100% Pima cotton and European jersey linen, and some great trousers and shorts to match. And what makes Quince different is how they make it all possible. They work directly with top factories and cut out the middlemen. So you're not paying for brand markups or fancy retail stores, just quality clothing made from premium fabrics that fit great. It was actually a friend of mine who first told me about Quince when I complimented his new hoodie. And it turns out it's not just any hoodie, it's a Mongolian cashmere hoodie. I thought it looked a bit fancier than what he would normally wear. He said it was so comfortable, he's barely taken it off since he got it. So it's a good job they do it in plenty of different colours, isn't it? He can get the whole range. Right now, go to quince.com/nation for free shipping and 365-day returns. That's a full year to build your wardrobe and love it. And you will. Now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last. Go to Quince, quince.com/nation for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/nation.
And Lewis Hamilton finally has a Ferrari Grand Prix podium.
Fantastic job, guys. Really well done. Back in Maranello, we've got work to do, but I believe in you. Let's keep pushing. Was a Ferrari.
Now, what about Ferrari? In our preview show, JP, they were your shout. You were going large.
Me, TC. Was it Ferrari or was I just passionate about Italians this weekend?
They were quick in the race, again. I mean, Lewis is maintaining the line that Mercedes still have that 0.4, 0.5 per lap over the red cars. I'm not sure it's that big.
I don't think it's that big in race trim. In qualifying, it was about 0.4, wasn't it? But I think it's shrinking as well. I think in race trim, the bit that surprised me the most was how easily George cleared the Ferraris at the start. And I thought, okay, this is a guy he wants to go and chase his teammate. But once they were 1-2, they didn't just romp away from Lewis and Charles. Obviously, the fight between the two Ferraris, if we think that George has hurt his tyres in that, they have exploded their tyres fighting with each other that hard. So I think, if you wanted a clear picture, the end result isn't that between the Mercedes and the Ferraris because of how brutal their battle was with each other. And I think they're in the mix. It was definitely closer. But I think regardless, if Ferrari had played their best cards here, I still think they're third and fourth at the moment.
What about the battle between Lewis and Charles? It felt like there was a lot at stake. Both of them enjoyed it. Lewis actually said in the press conference afterwards, it was, he thought, some of the best racing he's ever had.
That's great,
in Formula One. Isn't that fantastic?
I love it. Honestly, we're watching it in commentary, and I was thinking, the scrapping is unbelievable. So how they get there is obviously a lot to do with energy deployment, and one driver has a little bit more available. They then use their battery, and then they're ahead, but they don't have the battery to defend, and so the shoe goes on the other foot. But when you actually look at the battles, the wheel-to-wheel through the corners, it's phenomenal stuff, really. Trading blows, lap after lap, corner after corner. They're fighting each other so hard on the limit of grip, cars moving around, and they're giving each other just enough space. I mean, Lewis did mention that they had the faintest of touches, but I thought you have to say that is unbelievable skill. And it's not just drive-by passes. They are having to duke it out through the corners.
Well, but that's the point, right? I know you said there's an element of energy deployment, but I saw them side by side on parts of the track where energy deployment had nothing to do with it. It was wheel-to-wheel racing like we haven't seen for a long time.
It probably did have something to do with it, to be honest, because it would have been, all of the racing does centre around energy deployment. And it's, you could be 10% lower on battery, and you're going to every corner just start to harvest. And even if you take the middle sector, which is where some of the great fighting was, there'll be a level of harvest for one of them, whilst the other one's thinking, no, I'm going to just deplete the battery here and catch them by surprise. So I still think it does come down to energy deployment, but you still have cars at high speed, on the limit of grip, racing each other through multiple corners, and then that extra mental game of, okay, it's like a boost button now, where literally it's called boost. So that's convenient. I've read the rules, but it is effective. You get a chance, but you can't blow it all, or you're going to be repassed.
And it's tactical, right? You raced in Formula One with DRS. I always struggle with the idea that you could just press a button and 9 times out of 10 get an easy pass or someone. This is something with this deployment where drivers are having to think 2, 3, 4, half a lap ahead sometimes. That to me is what being a racing driver is all about.
There are two sides to it, but I do love I do love the wheel-to-wheel, and I do love the mental game of it as well. And you do see when drivers make the moves. I'm also thinking of the Colapinto, Ocon, Gasly, Behrman, Verstappen, all 5 of them brawling through the midfield as well. You see, you have one chance to pass, and if you don't make it, you're going to slip backwards. And if you do make it, you've then got to make your car as wide as possible. So the racing is different, but it's very quickly going to, it's immediately entertaining, isn't it? And the drivers are going to understand more and more how to do it. It's basically like a super slipstream effect, isn't it? You know, when you watch low-powered cars, long time on the straights, and everyone's just fanning out at some point on the straight to try and overtake, and you think, the guy in second so much quicker, then they take the lead, and the slipstream effect again is that big. It's effectively like a super slipstream from the energy.
Lewis said afterwards that he's back to his best, both mentally and physically. You agree?
Good to hear.
Yeah.
He seems it. Yeah, I mean, he's walking around with a smile all the time, isn't he? I think my favourite thing about Lewis's driving at the moment is how aggressive he is. It's like he's getting his elbows out, and it feels like the Lewis of old. I think even taking the fight so hard to Charles, also George in the sprint. And I think you're doing that because you're loving the racing. You want to just throw caution to the wind sometimes and overtake in the quirky spots. Just think, okay, let's give it a go. He's really quick. And it does feel like he's just completely rejuvenated.
I felt this was an important race for Lewis as well, because Charles rubbed his nose in it last year, right? To be frank. And this is him striking back. This is Lewis saying, no, Charles, I am your equal.
I think that's why the battle's so
intense.
So intense, isn't it? Because Charles has been King Kong of Ferrari for quite a while now. And even if the fights have been close with some of his fights with Carlos back in the day, and with Lewis, there was some tetchy radios and some battles last year, but it felt like Charles was the guy. And I think Lewis is basically saying, no, I'm here, and this is not just your team. So he's really trying to take the fight to Charles and trying to prove that he's an equal to him. He's always been good in China, and he's always been really quick in Melbourne. And Charles did say this has always been a bad track for him.
He's never finished on the podium here, right?
And his qualifying record I think he's out-qualified his teammate twice in 8, which for Charles Leclerc is actually a pretty miserable record. So I think there's an element of, are we going to see a better version of Charles coming up? But I nonetheless love the version of Lewis that we're seeing.
I thought their battle also proved that you can follow closely in these 2026 cars. Lewis agreed when I put that to him.
It definitely looks like it's working. I mean, that gap of like 2 or 3 seconds that we used to see doesn't look like it's the case anymore, does it? And also this circuit there's a lot of long, medium speed corners where normally you'd start to feel that wash and the dirty air effect. We actually saw it a bit from Norris last year before he picked up brake issues. So a lot of positives, TC. A lot of positives from that race.
You mentioned the name Norris. Not so many positives down at McLaren this weekend. Poor old Oscar Piastri has yet to do a racing lap in 2026.
Yeah.
First time a McLaren driver has failed to do a lap in 2 consecutive races since Bruce McLaren.
It's so tough, isn't it?
I was actually sat next to Oscar. He came into the McLaren hospitality to watch the race, and as that stat was offered up on the TV, he gave it a little sort of fist bump.
Record-breaking weekend,
Yes.
hey? He's got a new performance engineer as well, who's just had his best Sunday in the role by making it to the grid. That's how ridiculous his start has been. It's so tough on him not to have had a race start, and given how tricky the race starts are, you want all the experience you can get. So really unlucky. I spoke to Tom Stallard on the grid and had no idea at that point that he wasn't going to make it. I thought, okay, this is not good for McLaren having Lando out with electrical issues. But yeah, then they wheeled off Oscar's car as well. So really, really tough day. It's the worst case scenario for McLaren, just to not get any learning in the infancy of these cars. And Tom said he wouldn't speak to me again on the grid. So that's the end of that one.
But I still find it weird that we had relatively trouble-free running from people like McLaren at the Bahrain tests, and yet here we are, Chinese Grand Prix. They can't even get either car to the start line.
Yeah, we're seeing the complexity of the cars. They're doing more miles as well, aren't they? In more, in qualifying spec and in more tuned up. But I tend to agree. When they've had overnight to there's obviously part Ferme rules and there's a curfew and they can't take the cars to pieces and inspect them quite as much as as they would have done, but you still think that there's enough time to see these things before fire up. So I think that's the really tough thing for McLaren, that they have found issues so late in the day. But it's not just them, is it? We saw there was 4 cars that didn't make the start. Albon as well, who was only due to start from the pit lane, and Bortoletto got wheeled off.
What about Red Bull? Second DNF in a row for the team. Verstappen forced to retire a week after Hadjar did the same in Melbourne. And almost worse than the DNF for me was Max was so negative about the performance this weekend.
Yeah, you'd take the Hadjar race from last time out, where he's at least qualifying third and running in the top 5, and then you need to work on the reliability. But that, I think, Max being so disappointed with the level of performance, and it's the worrying thing for Red Bull is this is not necessarily down to the power unit, which is what should have been their Achilles heel, starting a power trains from scratch. But they've done a really decent job on that. So this is not a massively energy sensitive circuit, where they did a really good job in Melbourne, which was. So it seems like there's still a little bit of performance there, but it's mainly down to the chassis, downforce package, finding some grip mechanically as well. They're a long way off it. And Max said that they changed the car. They had the chance to change the car between the sprint and qualifying. Changed it a lot, which they've done historically to massive success all the time, and it made very little difference. So something inherent in there that they're not on top of.
This episode is sponsored by Indeed. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of this show: booking guests across time zones, tight turnaround edits, and constant time management. And when things get chaotic, you realise pretty quickly how important it is to have the right person on your team. If I had to hire someone tomorrow, I wouldn't just want a good editor. I'd want someone who understands pace in long-form interviews and can work fast under pressure. And in moments like that, you think, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Because Indeed sponsored jobs boost your listing in search results, helping you reach the candidates with the specific skills and experience you actually need. And it works. Sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 95% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. That's a serious edge when the pressure's on. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. This episode is sponsored by Saily. If you've ever landed in a new country and immediately needed to get online, you'll know that slightly stressful moment, turning your phone off airplane mode and hoping you actually get a connection. During the Formula One season, I'm constantly moving between countries. And the work doesn't stop once I leave the F1 paddock. Whether it's checking messages, doing research, or preparing for the next interview, I need to know I can get online straight away. And that's why Saily is such a useful travel companion. Saily is an eSIM app from the creators of NordVPN that gives you affordable mobile data in over 200 countries. So instead of worrying about roaming charges or hunting around for a local SIM card when you land, you can just connect straight away. And the best part is you only need to install the eSIM once. After that, you can travel between countries and stay connected without having to set it up again every time. They also offer the new Saily Ultra plan, which comes with extra perks like airport lounge access, fast-track services and priority support, which can make a huge difference if you travel a lot like I do. It even includes built-in security features like a VPN and ad blocking, which helps protect your privacy and can reduce mobile data usage as well. So download the Saily app in your app store. Use the code F1Nation at checkout and get 15% off your first purchase. Let's look at some positives now in what I call the midfield madness, right? It was hectic in there, and Ollie Behrman leading the way for Haas in P5, for me, was one of the drives of the day.
Yeah, Don't you find with these races, you forget how drivers have ended up in the positions they are, because the fighting is so chaotic in that midfield, and you know eventually that he's got ahead, but you can't remember, was Behrman ahead of Gasly 3 times, or was he ahead 5 times, or one clean pass? It was so chaotic, but I think he's a driver operating at an incredibly high level and cementing himself as a star of the future, absolutely.
Well, he's P5 in the World Championship in a Haas.
He's points every time. Best of the rest last time in Melbourne was 7th. Couldn't do more than 5th today. And, I mean, he got caught up behind Hadjar's spin early on the first lap. In Melbourne, he had a really bad start. So it's not like he's just qualified high and raced cleanly. He's had to then find his way through the field with some good overtaking. He's done that and delivered the maximum. And he got a point in the sprint.
What aspect of his racing do you like the most? Is it his coolness under pressure? Is it his feel for grip?
I think fundamentally he's rapid. So when you've got the speed he's got, it gives you tools to overtake. You know, you can get people out of position. You're not trying to hang on. You feel like you can apply a lot more pressure. And I think that his speed is obvious to see now, and he's putting a lot of pressure on Esteban, on the other car. I do think he's got a great awareness as well of racing. He said he struggled to pass Arvid Lindblad in Melbourne for so many laps, but it felt like he's put the lessons to good use for this weekend. He had the pit stop underneath the safety car and just managed to pick his way through that melee of Pierre Gasly and Colapinto and his teammate just cleanly. And it is difficult because when you have this set of regs, you know, we have a bit of yo-yo racing where you go ahead and then you have to defend, but he's basically attacking at the right time and then managing to hold that position and then moving forward to the next one. So it's sheer pace that's putting him in a good position, but he is very, very clean at his racecraft as well.
And utterly fearless. And I'm actually going to quote Ayo Komatsu, the team principal of Haas, who comes on F1 Beyond the Grid, sister podcast to this, in a couple of weeks. Ayo said, when he made his debut replacing Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari at Saudi, do you remember? He said, you know, he only got in the car on Saturday morning and the Ferrari engineers said to him that, you know, he was touching the walls in his first ever qualifying session in a Ferrari. You know, fearless.
He's just got talent. Is that
what we're talking about here? Just talent.
It's just talent. It's a feel for grip, which is what talent is. The rest of it is work ethic. It's patience, which I think he's shown a lot of maturity as well with his racecraft, and not panicking when he gets a bad start or he loses positions with the spin, just methodically picking it back and getting back to where he was. But I just see a driver that's got just the feel for grip, having the car on the edge. He's got a good brain on him as well. And I think he seems to be the real deal. And
you mentioned Ocon. I feel the gap we're seeing between Behrman and Ocon is we're looking at sort of the same territory as when Ocon was teammate to Fernando Alonso at Alpine. You know, it's kind of
more,
maybe even more, and certainly more than when Ocon and Gasly were teammates at Alpine.
Which is a statement of how good Behrman is. So Ocon's under pressure. He drifted away a lot as the year went on last year. But then you have to say, has Esteban lost performance, or is Ollie just actually a really, really high caliber driver coming through? And when you compare Esteban to Fernando, to Pierre, any number of teammates, he's never been a slouch. But the routineness of Behrman extracting so much from the Haas looks good for him.
Right. We mentioned Alpine then, and big congratulations to Franco Colapinto, right? I mean, he's had a torrid time since he replaced Jack Doohan at race 6 last year, right? I think we can say he hasn't been that impressive, and I felt this was the first time we've seen Franco driving with confidence, and I thought the way he held up all those cars, lap after lap, faster cars, was great.
It was good. It kept
car positioning was great.
Yeah, and again having the intelligence to use the speed when he needed to use the speed. He was a bit unlucky as well with the timing of the safety car because he was running in 6th early on, didn't get the pit stop because he was on the hard tyre to start. So yeah, really good race day from him. Nice, good level of awareness. Obviously got drilled by Ocon, which cost him a better chance of more points. But qualifying pace was much better as well, because it feels like he's been chasing it a little bit as well compared to Pierre, who's still the standout driver for Alpine. But hopefully it takes a bit of confidence.
Oh, it was a great day for Alpine. Double points, Franco coming home P10, Pierre Gasly coming home P6. How much potential do you think the Alpines got?
It's a good question because I feel like they've almost got the most out of what they can do here at the moment. The Mercedes power unit, they've really explained that since working with Mercedes, switching from Renault last year, they're having to get used to a new way of working. And it's taken a little bit of time to get the most out of that power unit. And you can see between them and also McLaren, I mean, who knows about Williams, but those two, you can see the gaps closing, the knowledge getting better, and they also just had a better car performance as well, got the car into a good window. There's a big gap, isn't there, between the fifth team and the fourth team, even if they were ahead of Red Bull this weekend. But I think best of the rest is still... I'm not going to get loftier expectations of them than that.
Look, just a couple more. Liam Lawson.
Very good.
It was a tough weekend for him in Melbourne in that his teammate on debut was getting so much praise. And I mean, you know what it's like when you're in the other car.
Sucks. It absolutely sucks, yeah.
So I felt he bounced back well this weekend.
Yeah,
to P7.
The perfect response, yeah. It's always difficult because everyone was sort of saying the pressure's on Liam. He's got more experience. Arvid Lindblad came in and showed what a talent he is. But again, just a kind of quiet weekend for him that was very, very competent. The strategy that Racing Bulls had in the sprint got him through on the hard tyre, and he made the most of it. And again, the strategy came towards him a bit in the Grand Prix today because he started on the mediums, was kind of struggling on that, but the safety car came at the right time for him. But he had a lot more pace. I would say Arvid Lindblad had a tough weekend in terms of mileage and reliability, but yeah, Liam certainly made the most of it and was unlucky not to be in the top 10 probably in qualifying as well.
Carlos Sainz gets those points for Williams in P9. He's been really solid all weekend actually. He said he was getting the limit out of what he's got, and what he's got isn't great at the moment. So, you know, those couple of points are important for Williams.
Yeah, spoke to him after the race. I thought he'd be a lot happier than he was, but he's
Oh,
saying
he's still
very
not
much
happy?
no, not happy. Just because of I think where Williams are at, and this is a guy that's capable of winning races, and I think he knows the level of performance that he's just put in this weekend, and he's done it for a 9th place. So I think, yeah, his drive was, I think, amazing. I cannot believe Williams have scored points this early in the season with a car that's not able to compete in the midfield. So it's incredible what he's done, but I think there is a frustration there that a drive like that should be worth a lot more than 2 points.
I was running the track on Friday night. JP, I did 5 laps.
No, you didn't.
Take that look of
You did 5
disbelief.
laps? I didn't do any laps this week.
But I passed James Vowles early on in the lap. My 4th lap, his first. And then I was running down the
braggy
back
today, TC. 5 laps, clearing past loads of other
walk
people.
in the park. And then I was coming down the long back straight, and I had to pass James Vowles again. And as I ran past him the second time within a lap, I was like, mate, I'm confused now. How did this happen? And
30 kilos of weight.
it snuck through the barriers. But I'm pleased for James because I think he's a man under pressure. Formula One is a pressure business, but never more than when you're not performing.
Well, never more than when you've spent the last 2 years saying that 2026 is what they're looking to. So I think, unfortunately, he's invited the pressure on himself because he's joined the project a few years ago, and Williams were making all the right strides. It seemed like he was putting everything in plan back at the base. The upgrades were bringing performance. Even just signing Carlos, that was a sign of, this is a team that now have finance to go and get race-winning drivers, and that made a big difference to get a couple of podiums as well. But then this is the chance. When you say what Alpine can do, at least they are at the front of the midfield with a new power unit. Williams know how Mercedes power units have operated. I mean, this is a whole new game, and they're learning about that as much as McLaren are. But you feel like there's not really an excuse for why they're this poor. They are massively overweight. There are fundamental parts of the car that aren't working, and they're major issues, and they just don't have downforce on the car. Alex Albon didn't do a race start this weekend because he's finding the car so oddly behaving that he wants to try things and treat it as a test session. So great that they got points, and Carlos did say hopefully it's a nice little catalyst for them to keep their hopes up and keep optimistic. But
one of the engineers told me that in weight alone it's about a second a lap compared to people who are on the weight limit.
I heard in Bahrain that the car was heavier this year than it was last year. Bearing in mind the weight limit's come down by 32 kilos, TC. That's outrageous. And that's what they're dealing with. So the weight is a natural penalty. That makes about a second a lap. Probably there's a few sensors on the car in testing that they can take off and trim it down a little bit. But so the weight's a second. Good. That's a chance that you can take off the weight and find it. But you need to still be able to take off the weight. There's a reason that it's heavy, because they've had to make the parts that they have. They obviously were a little bit late to it, so maybe with a bit more refinement, and they missed the shakedown, so scrabbled to get parts on the car for these early flyaways. They've got hopes that Miami, with a bit more time now, they'll be able to trim weight off the car, but we're not talking about one magic fix. We're talking every single component trying to shave off grams here or there and add downforce, so it's a double-edged sword. I think they'll do it, but remember, everyone else is going to be finding performance as well, so they've got a lot more to come as a ceiling. That's the good news. The bad news is they've got another second to find before they're in the midfield, really.
And that is why Carlos Sainz wasn't that jolly when you spoke to him after the race, because he knows it's a long road, doesn't he?
Precisely. And I think it's the hope of Williams on the end of last year to Williams this year. That's why I think there's such a disappointment to me.
Yeah. Look, final thing, I saw some extraordinary footage watching the race today of Fernando Alonso taking his hands off the wheel driving down the straights because of the vibrations coming through on the Aston Martin. Extraordinary. I've never seen anything like that before.
No, that's I don't know what to say about that. Aston Martin are in all manners of trouble, aren't they? So we know the vibrations are bad. We heard all the talk from Adrian Newey in Melbourne. The drivers are really struggling inside the cockpit. I heard that they couldn't feel their feet in Bahrain because the car was rattling them around so much. The only thing is, hopefully Honda are working on fixes for this, and they're understanding, and they're doing at least a few laps to figure things out. But it's pretty bleak, isn't it, for
home race for Honda coming up next?
It's a write-off race, though, isn't it? They're all just testing sessions, and it's sad to see because you've got race-winning drivers in all those back-end teams, in Williams, in Aston Martin, and Cadillac, and for all different reasons, they're not able to fight. And for Fernando particularly, I do feel like he's giving it full commitment, full attention, carrying on, hands off the wheel, but desperate to try and get a bit of feeling back in his
and quick and coolly compared to Stroll.
Yeah, Lance, I think, was entirely miserable yesterday after qualifying, being out-qualified by a Cadillac. I think Fernando's giving it an honest shot, and I think Adrian Newey will appreciate that as the team principal. You need to have galvanising forces in the team, but it's difficult when you're being shaken about. And also, he made a great start today, Fernando.
Again, back up in the point.
He loves just to grit his teeth and go and have a play.
Go
on
around the
opening
outside.
lap.
He loves going around the outside at the start.
Yeah. His wheel-to-wheel it's not gone anywhere, has it? 44, but he is razor sharp still. So if he has a car that can be anywhere in the fight, he will score points.
I know, but we've been saying that since 2013.
Yeah. The sad thing is he's got no straight line speed as well. So you see him make it all up, and then certainly we could have said the same in 2015 when he's just flying backwards.
Well, JP, thank you very much for your analysis. Great to chat as ever. The most difficult thing now is to come up with your driver of the day, because I think there are so many candidates. I mean, where are you going to go with this one?
Oh, this is a tough one today.
I mean, on the TV, Kimi Antonelli got the vote.
Right. So I think you've got three candidates. You've got Kimi Antonelli, first win. You've got Ollie Behrman, 5th for Haas. And you've got Carlos Sainz, 9th in a Williams. You know what?
Where are you going?
I want to say Kimi, just for the first ever win as a... Do I have a...
But was it the drive of the day?
You don't want me to say Kimi?
No, you can say what you want, mate. I'm going a bit left field, but I want you to go
first.
TC.
You jump in.
Do you know what? I'm actually going to say Franco Colapinto. I mean, of course,
oh my word.
Kimi Antonelli, fantastic. And I think, more than anything, this will just give him the confidence. He knows now that he can go wheel to wheel with George, takes the pole, youngest pole sitter in the history of the sport. And I think this will do a huge amount for his confidence. So it's a huge day for Kimi Antonelli, but I don't think it was the drive of the day. And I just look at Franco Colapinto and go, from where he's been for the last year to what we saw today, and the confidence, you said it yourself, how he deployed and kept those cars behind him in a midfield gaggle, I thought was huge. So I'm going to say Franco Colapinto.
Okay. You've sold it to me. I'm going Carlos Sainz for keeping Franco behind right at the end as well, and taking that 9th place in what was definitely a slower car. I don't think he left anything on the table this weekend, and he has given Williams at least something to smile about.
JP, that was wonderful. Thank you very much, mate. Are you back to Europe tonight, or
I am embracing China tonight, and I will be back tomorrow.
celebrating the Kimi Antonelli first win?
What a day.
For more reaction and analysis from China, go to f1.com, the official F1 app, or at F1 on social media. And don't forget to check out F1's other official podcasts. My guest on F1 Beyond the Grid this week is Jacques Villeneuve, looking back at his amazing debut season 30 years ago, 1996. That's out on Wednesday. And on the latest episode of F1 Explains, F1 correspondent Lawrence Barretto joins Christian Hugill to answer your questions. That's just below this episode on the F1 Nation feed. Just before I go, we've had the news that the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix will not take place in April due to the current situation in the Middle East. No substitutions will be made in April. But next up is Japan at the wonderful Suzuka circuit in just under a fortnight, and we'll be back next Monday to preview that race. Thank you very much for listening. F1 Nation is produced by Formula One and Audio Boom Studios.